Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Dan Murrell, and I'm here with my review of Hustlers, which is in theaters today. Now, this is coming off a lot of buzz from various film festivals where it's premiered, and it stars Constance and Jennifer Lopez as two strippers who find a new way to make a living in New York City. Constance plays Destiny, the new girl on the block, and Jennifer Lopez is the veteran in this film. And it really focuses around a story that based on a real-life article from Jessica Pressler about some strippers who, faced with the complete drying up of money and funds following the 2008 recession from their Wall Street consumers and customers, discovered a new way of making money, if you want to call it that, which would basically be to drug potential clients, take them to the strip clubs, max out their credit cards, and then split the profits. Of course, things go from there. And if you've seen a movie like this about the rise to prominence through criminal enterprise, then you also probably know the structure of how this film goes. Now, a lot of the focus has been on Jennifer Lopez, who, while she's been in several successful movies, has never really been consistently in a bunch at a time. This reminds me a lot of the Jennifer Lopez that we saw way back in the late 90s with Out of Sight, when she was first making her name in the film industry. I actually don't think that she's a bad actress at all. I think that it's just she hasn't consistently built the kind of resume that so many other people have because she has such a multifaceted and varied career in the music industry and elsewhere. Here in the role of Ramona, I think that she really turns in one of her best performances, if not her best performance. There has always been, we're in the festival season, so of course there's been Oscar buzz around her role in the film. It's a long time till we hit the awards circuit, but I will say that if she does get recognition for this role, I think it is well deserved. She really is, I think, the standout performance in this movie, but it's also anchored by Constance who also is very strong in the film. She anchors it. We discover this world through her eyes, and then much of the story is told from her perspective. We see her family life, how she gets into this, what eventually becomes a con, and then the ramifications of what it is that she's actually gotten into. Lorene Scafaria wrote and directed this film. I think that she does a great job. You know, a lot of times with writers and directors, it can get a little muddled on the way to the screen, but I think that she does a great job of executing her vision. And I also think it's interesting to see a movie about exotic dancers, about stripping that's set in strip clubs, but seen through a female director's lens. The nudity that's in this movie, because it is set in a strip club, of course there's going to be nudity, but it's very interesting. And I think if you compare this to other films that are similar, that are set with exotic dancers as the main characters, the way that it's shot, the way that what the camera chooses to focus on versus not focus on, I think it's so interesting to see how a female director approaches this subject matter and compare and contrast it to the way that you see it through a male director. And it's not saying that one way is wrong and one way is good or one way is bad. I just think it's interesting to look at how different filmmakers bring their experiences to what they make and how they view different surroundings or the same surrounding but viewed through a different lens. I really think that, like I said, not just on a performance level, visually, this is a very strong movie. I think it has a very distinct style. And again, it really brings this feel of the late 2000s, because we're at a point now, we're over a decade away from the events in this film. We're at a point where we can start looking back at what a lot of us consider to be recent history. And this does evoke that era, the excess that led up to, particularly in New York, the 2008 economic recession and everything that happened on Wall Street. Now, I've seen there are some criticisms about the fact that, yes, the scam in this film, it does involve drugging people and stealing their money. And I've seen people say, well, you know, does this movie send a bad message? Is this potentially, a harmful film? And I would argue that this film doesn't glorify their scheme any more than films like Goodfellas or Scarface or any number of mafia movies or The Wolf of Wall Street have glorified the behavior of the characters in those movies. Movies have been showing objectively terrible actions in a positive light, or in a light that doesn't objectively define them as bad, at least not initially, since the beginning. Scarface is about the excess of what Tony Montana goes through in the 1980s before it focuses on what happens after. The Wolf of Wall Street is about the excesses a couple of decades earlier of Wall Street. And you get to see all that before the ramifications happen. I think the same thing is happening here. I don't think that the schemes and the plots in this film are any differently portrayed than we've seen in many other films that feature criminals as the main character. That's what the genre of this movie is. And even apart from that, Scarface is the guy that's on the poster, not the cops who catch Scarface. So while, yes, the movies do deal with the ramifications, I do think that there have been arch heroes that have been glorified and held up in a position of respect because they are in these movies with great actors and great performances that people connect to. So I don't think that Hustlers sends a bad message. As a matter of fact, I think it fairly accurately portrays the good, what the appeal was for them to do this, but then the ramifications and the consequences of that. As I mentioned, it's the act structure of just about every crime movie that you've seen. Now, where it does, I think, fall short is giving lip service or glancing over some of the motivations for the characters. We do spend a lot of time watching their schemes unfold, watching them celebrate what they're doing. And there are hints of perhaps a deeper level, particularly a Destiny, Constance Wu's character, that I think we could have delved into more. I did feel like that there was a deep well of pain that we don't really find out that much about until towards the end of the film, that perhaps could have been layered in at the beginning, had made her character a little more well-rounded, because you have Jennifer Lopez, even though she's technically, you could almost say a supporting role in comparison to Destiny's role, Constance Wu's role. A lot of time is given to her because she's a big star and because she's so good in this movie. So I do think that the movie could have taken a look at its characters and their backgrounds a little bit more, could have added a little more depth to that portrayal. But overall, I think that this is a solid movie. I think it's got great performances. It has a lot of laugh moments. Yes, it is about people doing bad things, but there have been a lot of movies about people doing bad things. I don't think it's a movie that says that they were right to do these things. I don't think it's a movie that encourages people to do these things. I think it is like every other movie that is about criminality done, even in the name of desperation, even in the name of giving it to people who quote unquote deserve it. I still think that the film addresses it thoroughly. I think that there's not really a danger of anybody trying to pull this scam that might be inspired by this movie. I really do think it is a pretty solid crime caper comedy/drama, and I think it pulls off both of those things with equal measure. So it's a recommendation for me for Hustlers. Did you see the film? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned here to Fandom Entertainment. We'll have the latest news and reviews for you every day. Thanks for watching. See you next time.